StarCraft has a long legacy. It's a game that really defined Blizzard as a global game developer. It speaks to so many across the world, and now, as we work on Legacy of the Void, we're seeing the final evolution, not just of these characters and these races, but also of the game design, the cinematics, and certainly the music.
My name's Glenn Stafford. I'm a senior composer here at Blizzard. I've been here since 1993. I came on as a contractor for about a week, and then they hired me on as the first Blizzard sound guy, although we weren't Blizzard yet. Yeah. I want to say late 95, early 96 is when we started talking about StarCraft. As it shaped up, we wanted to have a distinct sound for all three of those races. Kind of a space cowboy country approach to the Terrans, contrasting with this big ethereal sound for the Protoss with choirs and stuff. The Zerg, we took a step further with using an outside contractor, at the time Derek Duke, to create this really creepy electronic vibe.
Back in the 90s, I was doing the occasional PlayStation games, a lot of CD-ROM games, edutainment, some work on cartoons. I'd come across a ad for music for Blizzard Entertainment, and I was a big fan of their stuff. They wanted some sounds and some music outside the Blizzard wheelhouse. You know, they were looking for those sort of interesting textures, and that was something that I was definitely into and am still really, you know, super into. So there, that's instant drama. I don't think Jason came on board till a couple years after that.
StarCraft 1 was the first game I ever worked on at Blizzard. It was during the last 9 months of the game, so everything was really on fire at that time. When I came on, there was still some Protoss music left to be done, so I got to kind of join in when we wrote what's called, not that interestingly, Protoss 3. It was like the third of the long-playing Protoss tracks in StarCraft 1. At the time, they didn't have the massive orchestral libraries that they do today, so we didn't even know what we were missing. I mean, there wasn't such a thing as saying, you're going to make this gigantic orchestral sound with only electronics.
I know I was just crazy just with my samplers and really big into my processing boxes even back then, using outboard gear and just running through very detailed signal processing chains to get sort of new sounds. It was a bit more of a complicated process to achieve the production effects that now happen, in the box with plugins and things now. So we start with the darkness. And then bring in some bugs, right? So 20 years ago, that would have been a full day's work.
Listening to this stuff today, those are great sounds, right? But man, it's like nothing compares to recording with a full orchestra.
Hell, it's about time.
As we ramped up for StarCraft 2 development for Wings of Liberty, the Terran-focused campaign, we had a whole kind of wide range of instrumentation, guitar-heavy, even more guitar-heavy than the original. I did blend that with samples as well to fill it out, and also to kind of preserve a little bit of a retro legacy feel. Since Derek Duke had originally composed the StarCraft 1 Zerg music, we continued that relationship and we collaborated on some weird electronic sounds, took that and evolved it to the next level with, live orchestra instruments.
We pay attention to things like those sonic signatures of the hi-hats of the Zerg are always kind of like this kind of a sound. There's certain things that are always going to be there, and that's, I think, what's going to speak to the fans.
Jason came on during Heart of the Swarm. Towards the end,
I got to have my one little foot in the door on Heart of the Swarm as far as writing music on that one track. It's really a cool full circle moment for me because, starting back with Glenn during the tail end of StarCraft 1 development, where I got to contribute to the Protoss music, now We're at this third installment in this epic trilogy, and it's all about the Protoss. And so it's wonderful to be able to flesh out a lot of the ideas we started way back then and kind of see where they go and mature into these full-fledged themes. Glenn, you there?
I'm here.
Today, Glenn and I are working together. I'm here in my office with my setup, and Glenn is down the hall with his setup. We're working on a section that is taking a classic Protoss theme all the way back from when we worked on StarCraft 1. We're going to take it and update it by giving it a military urgency so that it'll be appropriate for the Void's preparation for their kind of final stand. The software program we use has an online collaboration technology. It doesn't take long. I mean, in a matter of just a few hours, we can have a queue up and going that sounds quite polished. So this is the classic Protoss theme. So I've got my part now, and I'm going to post it so that Glenn can see it. All right, Glenn. The piano sketch is coming to you.
Yeah, looks good. The riff at the end, the quick thing, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That thing would sound awesome on short strings in the beginning, don't you think?
But yeah, it'll have to be cool all the way through, I think. Nice. From one section to another, you know, at some point, I'm kind of leading the charge and he's helping me develop the idea. And at another moment, maybe he's leading the charge and I'm helping develop his idea. I don't worry about getting like writer's block at all. It's like impossible. There you go. Nice. So this is the sketch. Next, I'll go over and work with my collaborator, Mike Patty, in Los Angeles, and we'll combine it with a lot of other music and go on to this next phase where we open up the giant template and begin to flesh these things out in preparation for going to the orchestrator. Why don't you go ahead and start that one thing that the appropriate name, Void Action 3, the action cue there. Mike I've known for a little while.
So something that has like kind of this minor major tension to it.
I originally contacted him because he had some really cool YouTube videos that would show his process, and he had this great what we call an orchestral template. It's basically, you know, all electronic, but it's a way to simulate the sound of an orchestra, and we all deal with this issue.
Here's my template. I've got the strings at top, and then I've got strings, brass, and the woodwinds, and then like keys, harp, choir, and then percussion grouped in track folders. It was really cool. I got this email randomly from Jason. He's like, "Hey, I'm Jason Hayes. I'm a composer. I know who you are." Like, oh my gosh, you're the StarCraft guy, you know. And you know, he's like, "Hey, I need some help with my template," and I was like, "I'll be right there. Whatever you need, you know." So. So that'll be like some of the long strings, and we have short string. You know,
short strings can be a great, quick way to get the feeling of, you know, here's the string section going in full adrenaline action mode.
That's a general idea. And then I'll record it in, and this is what it ends up sounding like. I'll just play the whole thing so you have it.
Yeah. what's so nice about that also? It's like right there on one instrument, Mike can play that in. You know exactly what he's going for. And just the basic first steps of writing, a big patch like this with the entire range of strings, it's great for writing. Because what you played there totally suggests an attitude and a feeling for the cue, right? The first time you see the Spear of Adun, to me, that was really important for us to hit because, you know, you have this amazing ship and it represents the highest ideals of what Protoss, you know, the Protoss race can be. It's beautiful and it's inspiring, it's aspirational, and yeah, and it feels almost like, you know, it's like a religious experience. You're like, oh, here it is. At the beginning of the cinematic, they really are in trouble. And so it's a very sad tone, a very, very, you know, pensive, sad tone at the beginning. But, you know, when you see there's still hope, and we do play it pretty strong.
It was really fun to score that moment, because, you know, it's really hard. You got to restrict yourself, and you want to stay small for a long time. But then every once in a while, you got to, like, let loose.
Game development's going on like a freight train that doesn't stop, and it's all happening at the same time. The designers are working on their missions and the story arc and the realization of the moment to moment as we're trying to write music. There's also this huge effort going on in the cinematics department, and Neil Acree has been working with us on the music for those simultaneously while we work on the endgame.
The function of the cinematics is to create this very impactful short moment that happens after a certain amount of gameplay. Though we do try to create, you know, dynamic arcs and have it be a cohesive story, they oftentimes we're you know, trying to make a lot happen in a short period of time and have it be very impactful. A lot of times we go in with a specific idea in mind, try to find a way to tie all the stories together in a cohesive way. And sometimes we'll end up finding something that does that, but not in the way we thought it would. In this particular case, there was kind of a heroic theme that happened when Zeratul confronted Amon, who was acting through Artanis.
For ire.
I end up taking that theme and giving it to Artanis later on as Artanis picks up the gauntlet and kind of takes on Zeratul's mission. And that theme kind of then became sort of a heroic theme for Artanis that had originally been Zeratul's moment.
Forgive me.
The Protoss are constantly in communication through the Kala, so we wanted to find a musical way to demonstrate that. And for that, we used choir.
It used to be that if we had vocals in our games, it would be, you know, me singing in a vocal booth and Glenn singing in a vocal booth, and we'd record ourselves singing this thing like 20 times, and we're not even good singers. It's pretty cool, the magic you can create doing that technique. But again, compared to a big group of professional singers, the Protoss deserve a real choir.
We start with 32 voices, and we have them double track and triple track. By the end, it sounds like at least 96 players. It's all about making a bigger sound, and a space like this with the acoustics, you know, it's the best place to do it. I'm extremely excited for the players to hear it. You know, we've been working on it for months now, and to see all that get wrapped up is such a satisfying experience. I'm really honored to be a part of it.
So at this point, we've got a lot of elements. Obviously, full symphony orchestra, choir, and we're gonna be taking all that stuff back in the studio, and it'll be almost like a playground where we take all these elements and begin the final mix. And we really hope when it's all said and done, we've captured something that's gonna be a wonderful, dramatic musical score that will give the players the most awesome conclusion to this trilogy.